Well, today I'm talking with Dr. Michael Wagner about a particular philosophical point in politics, and some of you may have actually heard this in some of your deliberations with other people online, but have you ever gotten into a discussion with someone who thinks that social conservatism is nothing more than an American import, and that evangelicals are simply almost sort of sneaking their way across the border in Canada, and they all came from the States or something like that? Michael, can you comment a little bit on that assumption that we've seen sometimes in the public and social media?
Yeah, actually, that's a very unfair thing to say out of context. Like it is true that there is some American influence upon evangelical political views in Canada, but the bigger context is that the social left is way more influenced by the Americans than the evangelicals in Canada. And the reason I say that is basically the social left in Canada, the political movements that express the social left are groups like the homosexual rights movement and the abortion rights movement and feminism. And the philosophical foundations for these are largely laid in the United States. The sexual revolution itself, which these groups grew out of, was largely initiated in the United States by people like Alfred Kinsey, the sex researcher, and Margaret Mead, the anthropologist. And of course, on the popular side, they were led by Hugh Hefner and his Playboy magazine, which was a US-based magazine that circulated widely in Canada and had major cultural and political influence in terms of breaking down Canada's traditional moral values. And of course, Bob Guccione with his Penthouse magazine, he was even more politically aggressive in his promotion of the sexual revolution. So you have these American influences into Canada which help to change Canadian culture more to the left and to help build the support for the abortion rights movement and the feminist movement and the homosexual rights movement. So the left in Canada, the social left, has been very strongly influenced by the American side of things, much more so than the evangelicals, because conservative Christianity has been in Canada right from the start. Canada, the European settlers that came to Canada brought Christianity here, so the Christian view was always here all along. And the social left cultural view came in much later, and it came in more largely from the United States. So if we're going to criticize political movements in Canada for their American political influence, the social left is much more guilty of that than the evangelical Christian movement would be. So that's how I would answer that assertion.
Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.